What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Good Wolf Project. I'm your host, Jerry Scarlato, and today's guest is P.Wilson. P's journey is very amazing because he was addicted to drugs for over 15 years, in and out of rehab, involved in a car chase, and so many other incidences that ultimately what got him sober, what got him to the point where he started to take control of his life after being addicted to drugs for over 15 years was exercise, nutrition, a program. His health is what got him over the hump and moving forward. Him taking control of his life, him taking control of his health, him building a routine into his life. That's what took a drug addict that was in it, deep into it, and turned him into a health addict, turn him into somebody who cares about his health and cares about the health of those around him. It's a phenomenal story. I know you'll enjoy it. So jump in and enjoy this interview with P.Wilson. Wilson, what's up, brother? How you doing today?
Hey, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate it. Trying to get some more exposure. It's been great, man.
No doubt, brother. I know the grind. I think you and I are kind of on the same path, getting started on this online journey. We, of course, had some technical issues trying to, luckily we got, backups to be able to have different video conversations. It's amazing because 5 years ago, this wouldn't have been an option, like just to think about the progress that technology has had. But thanks for your patience, brother. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. I was actually on a phone call with my partner last night, and I was able to share my screen with him, and he was like, it was like, oh, dude, I've never even seen this before. Like, my little brother taught me because he's an electrical engineer, and all he does is write code all day, so he knows all these little tricks with computers, and I learned from him. So it was like we were able to get a business meeting done, over the laptop because I could share my screen, a bunch of confusing music stuff like uploading music, typing producers, credits, publishing. I mean, the list goes on, man.
And it's crazy. Y'all just did that over a video call, basically.
Yeah, just Google Meets, share the
Yeah.
screen, and
Yeah.
you know,
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy.
yeah, it's amazing, man.
So speaking of technology, I was checking out your story because I always like to start with something relevant, um, pulled off of what you're talking about. And yesterday, I think it was yesterday, you were talking about overcoming procrastination. And I think procrastination is something a lot of people deal with, especially when they're wanting to make a big change in their life. So, what was the thing that got you to make the jump to stop procrastinating on whatever the change was?
Well, man, it was I had this like I know I'm sure you have it too because we're on a similar path. It's like this thing inside, right? That's like calling us like the wolf in the wilderness, It's like
I like
he
that.
wants to go run, he wants to go kill, he wants, and it's like it's always grinding on people like us, right?
Yep.
and and that it was just that calling from the wild. It just kept gnawing at me, gnawing at me, gnawing at me. And I knew my life wasn't going in a productive direction, but you get comfortable, man. You're making money, the food makes you comfortable, you're able to watch TV, you're able to go out to dinners, and you're able to have Christmases and birthdays for your kids, and but you have to go make the money, so you're not emotionally there. And and when you come back, you're tired, and it just started adding up on me because you know um my daughter was such a sweet kid to up to 9, and I let her go live with a relative because of my drug addiction and some other stuff. My wife's mother had a mental illness, paranoid schizophrenia, and so we had her go live with her. Thought it was a better situation. Turned out It wasn't. And I've never been able to get those years back, man. And like my kid's 15 and she's a problem now,
Mm,
and so
hmm.
that procrastination, to go back to the what you wanted to talk about, is it adds up, it compounds. Just like the guy that gets up at 5 in the morning or earlier or whatever, that time's going to compound, right? So the guy that gets up at 8, you already have 3 hours on him. And then if you do that on a weekly basis, that's 21 hours. And then you do it on, and then he times it on a month, and then he times it on a year. I mean, these guys are living years in if it's compounded over time. Of course, if you start and stop, of course it don't work like anything else. But if it's compounded over 10, 15, 20 years, bro, you just made up all that time you spent doing drugs. I mean, realistically,
Yeah.
that's how I look at it.
Yeah. No doubt, man. That's compounding. I love that you said that because I don't think a lot of people think about it that way. They think they think in terms of like starts and stops, exactly what you're talking about, because like society has built this idea that like you only have to do something for a certain amount of time. And once you reach the end of it, then you can stop doing it. Like health and fitness is one thing we have in common. And you've recently started your health and fitness journey and like gotten yourself in shape, taking control of your life, put discipline into your life, which has transformed who you are, as far as I can tell. But like most people don't think of it that way. They think of it as I'm going to start this diet. And at the end of the diet, I'm going to go back to the way I lived. So they don't think of it in terms of like momentum and compounding and adding that over the course of a period of time, years and decades. They think in terms of weeks and months. What do I have to do for the next 12 weeks to get 30 pounds off? Or what do I have to do for the next maybe 6 months to get a six pack? Or what do I have to do for now to get off the alcohol or get off the drugs and then not even think about the rest of my life? I just want to get to the point where I'm off of that. And they don't think about compounding is such a good word to use because it does. It's cumulative. It's not like this and then this and then this. It's this and then this plus this and then this plus this plus this, and then it all just starts adding up.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like with like my drug addiction, right? And the time that I wasted, it compounded. Your thoughts compounded, the negativity compounded, and I'm like, oh man, the world's against me. It's this external thing, it's this external thing, and it's this. Well, no, it's because your whole life is negative. 90% of what you're doing is negative. So it's gonna compound. Your thoughts have power and all this stuff. So, you know, I get the way of thinking of oh, in 90 days, I'm gonna do this amazing diet and I'm gonna get there and I'm gonna, and then you fall off, you know. But I mean, realistically, I just look at everything as a marathon, and there is no finish line, man. It's just not. You have to you once you determine that this is a lifestyle that I want to live, and I needed something to replace drug addiction, right? So fitness is the best thing there is. It's going to give you
No doubt.
confidence, it's going to build your body, you're going to feel healthy. I mean, I was up at 4:30 in the morning and I'm full of energy. Like I've had 2 cups of coffee, but it's not even from that. It's from getting up, working out early. My mind's clear. I'm not rushing out the door. I'm just like I'm taking everything in segments. Like, what do I got to do? I got to get up. I got to cook. I got to get to the gym. I got to meal prep, and then it's all in segments, right?
Right.
And then I got to get to work, or I got to send these DMs, or I got to check people's stories, and then I got to socialize on social media, and you're just taking everything in segments, and if you just break up your day like that, it just becomes like this flow, man. And you
No
just
doubt.
feel so good.
Yeah, I don't think people like that's something that is taken for granted because people look at their time and there's a law called Parkinson's law, and the law is basically a task will take up the amount of time allotted to it. So, for instance, social media is a perfect example. And for most people, social media uses them. They don't use social media. That distinction is very important. And when social media uses you, that task is going to take up whatever amount of time you allot to it. And for most people, they don't allot of time. They just go until they realize they've been sitting on their damn phone for 2 hours or 3 hours. And then they finally wake up and realize that they've been sitting there. And then they say they don't have time to exercise. But right now, they have zero time allotted in their life for exercise. So if you take that 2 hour chunk that you just spent either scrolling on your phone or, looking on Netflix, binge watching a show on Netflix, and you cut that even in half, you've just got an hour out of your time that you can allot to exercise. So our days are full, not because we don't have time, not because we have so much going on. Like a lot of people have kids. I don't have kids. So I always like to say, like, I can't talk directly about kids. But what I can say is I've known people. We used to have a girl at the gym. I owned a fitness studio for 10 years. And there was a girl at the gym who had 7 kids and she homeschooled them. And she came to the gym 3 to 5 days a week for an hour at a time. So, like, it can be done, but you have to you have to do exactly what you're saying. You have to know how to segment your time and take control of the time that you have instead of saying, "Whoop, I can't control any of it, so I'm just not going to pay any attention." So, that's a very good point, like being able to segment that time and how good you feel from actually taking control of it.
I mean, and the thing is, it takes a lot to get there. You know that.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
I'm sure you were sleeping, walking around the planet for a long time too. I was, and the general population, they're asleep. They're asleep. That's why, with the social media, we use triggers because these people are sleepwalking. They're watching 3 hours of football. They're eating all these pleasurable foods. They're sleeping with random women every night. They're drinking alcohol. They're doing drugs. They're gambling. And I mean, these things are at your fingertips, no problem
Yeah.
nowadays. I mean,
Right.
gambling's right there. ESPN's, you can gamble, right? You,
Mhm.
you know, the phone escorts are right there. Whatever, whatever it is, it's at
Anything
your
you want.
fingertips.
Mhm.
So you really gotta be awake to do what we're doing. So, you know, that's the thing is like the pleasure people are choosing pleasure over the purpose, man, and they're missing out.
It's a good
They
way to
are
put it.
100%. They're missing out, but until they're awake and willing to change, there's nothing that's gonna change because, like I said, it's too accessible, it's too easy, you know? Like I said, it took me I wanted to get in Muay Thai in 10 years ago, 10
Mm.
years ago, and then I finally got in it and I loved it, and I did it for a couple years. Right now, I don't have the allowed time to do it as much as I used to, but I did it though. I got off the couch, I went to the gym, I put my little gloves on, I put my things on, I sweated, I punched people, all this stuff. I had physical interaction. Like I did that. And you have to be able to take pride in that stuff now, man. And no one does. No one does. They'd rather just
So
walk
true.
this planet and like I said, I got my dinners with my wife, I got this, I got you know, I'm able to afford a little vacation and that's good enough. But why wouldn't you just want more? I
Mhm.
mean, you can do all that stuff and you can still do more. Like you can live an amazing life and still do all those things. But like I said, man, no, not everybody's keen to that.
No
Which we're
doubt.
lucky. We're very lucky to be keen to that.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. So I want to dig into your journey just a little bit because you've mentioned it a couple of times, being addicted to drugs. So when did that start, and what caused you to want to get out of it? Because I imagine like that's a hard thing to overcome. And again, once you're in a life, you have to have an awakening. Like there has to be some, at some point, you're like something flashes in your eyes and you go, damn, there's something better that I can do. So when did that start for you, and how did you start to make the change and move away from drugs?
Okay, it started at 12. Okay. And I had it started at 12. I mean, I pretty much used from 12 to 26. And I went to
14
rehab at
years.
15. I went to rehab at 15, Alcoholics Anonymous at 18, back to rehab at 26. And that's when I finally, when I was in that rehab, that was when I was able to actually get some time accumulated. I think I ended up
Mm,
getting like 2.5 years, right?
mhm.
But the thing was is that I was in so much trouble. I went on a high-speed chase. I got caught with drugs. I basically got 7 felonies all in one night, one shot, man,
Mm,
one shebang.
mm,
And I'm sitting in jail, and I think I'm about to get bailed out, and all I want to do is smoke rock.
mm,
And I felt that, and I think about it now, but at the time, it makes me sick now. But at the time, I was like, man, that sounds amazing. But that's
mhm.
how much of a hold drugs had on me. And go back to the compounding effect from 12 to 26, that's 14 years solid. That's a compounding effect.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a disease to me. It was just a bunch of bad habits and choices that compounded 14 years that put my mind in a state of addiction, right?
Mm,
That's how I feel. So I get the 2.5 years. I'm in so much trouble. I got a 9 year, 8 month joint suspension. That's if I get in any trouble that's related to those charges, they could give me close to 10 years, right? So I'm on this high control probation for 4 years. It's gnarly. I got probation popping up at my house at like 4 in the morning. And I get off the probation, and you know, it goes both ways. The wolf was calling, it was the wild was calling, and it's like, let's get back at it.
mhm.
And I did. I went in and out of recovery for 9 years, and I got sober this time at 34, 2018, September 3rd. And
Congratulations, brother.
I appreciate it, man.
Mhm,
It is the most relieving thing to not have that monster on my back.
mm,
And it was a lot of things. It was street stuff. It was just me trashing my body. But when I seen the look in my daughter's eyes one morning, she was just, you know, she just tears, just crying, and just like, she's 8 years old, so she's getting a little bit older. And I was just like, man, I can't do this no more. I just can't. So I picked up the Bible, I picked up some recovery material, and I just started reading. And then the next step after that was, starting the fitness journey. I started doing a lot of cardio to get the weight off. I was 250 pounds.
mm,
I'm down to 175 right now. The lowest I've been is 166. But I didn't put on any muscle. So I didn't know what I was doing.
mhm,
So I went to Muay Thai. I was doing all these physical activities and it was helping. And I'm listening to David Goggins, I'm listening to Watson, I'm listening to all these things and I'm taking it all in. And I'm like, this is what it is. But I still had the gambling, I still had the womenizing, I still had all these food addictions still. And and they would come creeping in, like just that like that fog rolling in on
Mhm.
at the beach or something, and it's just like that eerie feeling. And until I got rid of all my vices, for the most part, I have a few hangups. I'm not perfect at all.
Mhm.
But as far as like major vices, I don't participate in any major vices anymore as far as gambling, drugs and alcohol, and womenizing. So, yeah, man, it was just a huge turning point, man. It's just I had went through the process of recovery for so long and I just got so tired that I couldn't do it anymore. It was either that or I was gonna blow my face off pretty much.
Dude, that again, congratulations. I can only imagine like I can only imagine the feeling that you have now when you like reflect back on all those years and all that time and like the power and the control that you have in your life now. Like what I hear in that story is perseverance because once you've gone in and out of rehab a couple times, tried a couple times, like I feel like a lot of people just would have kept that same cycle, right? And you did that for a while, in, out, and you tried and you didn't try. But what I hear at the end of it was like you decided to take control. You decided to take the steps. You decided to pick up the Bible. You decided to start your fitness journey. You decided to do those things. And once you decided to, that's when things really started to click. And that it's like it's like in exercise. If if a doctor tells someone that they need to start exercising because they're fat and overweight, they'll start, but they're not going to do it on their own because they're not doing it for themselves. They're not doing it for them for a purpose that they believe is important. They're doing it because the doctor told them to. What it sounds like is like you had that moment with your daughter and with yourself, and you're like, I want to be able to be something for her. And I want to be able to be something for me. And it's like, it sounds like that thing just switched and your purpose just all of a sudden shifted to, I need to be a different person. So like, that's a big deal considering the number of years that had compounded with all that.
Oh yeah, man. And the thing is, it just wears you down.
Mm,
That's where I was at a point is like, look, I either gotta get off this stuff. I'm gonna die a thousand different ways, but at least if I blow my face off, I'm in control of that.
mhm,
And the thing is now that I have moved towards the positive way of fitness, nutrition, and mindset and all that stuff, that now when I reflect on all that stuff, it gives me power. It gives me fuel. So I can always draw from this energy like, oh yeah, I remember that day. That was a bad day. Well, today is not as bad as that day. So you find these, through growing, you find these little tricks that were like, that just calloused your mind pretty much to where now you can always go back into the little fishbowl and just pull out an incident like, oh
mhm.
man, that was bad you know? So today's not that bad, and it's kinda, it keeps you going, gives you that fuel, gives you that fire, but to go back to what you're talking about, like, that switch
Mhm.
is like, that's the thing is most people, they are not gonna change on their own. I mean, I have a friend that has diabetes, literally got his foot cut off, and he
Wow.
still eats like shit, lack of a better word, right?
Mhm.
And that just goes to show you how far people are willing to take it, you know? But I'm willing to take it just as far, but in the other direction. you know? So we're the lucky ones. I feel for sure. Is it a
Well,
hard life? Is it a hard life? Early wake ups, working out 7 days a week, you know, the eating, whatever way you're going, you know, but we're the lucky ones.
well, the way that I like to think about it is you either do hard things now to live an easy life later, or you do easy things now to live a hard life later. So the question is, where do you want that trade-off to be, right? So, like, a lot of people are doing that, living the easy life, sitting around being comfortable, eating foods that taste nice, drinking, partying, drugs, alcohol, the easy life. I mean, it's still hard on the body, don't get me wrong, but in 10 years, 20 years, it's going to be much harder on the body. Like, it's going to be a hard life down the road. Now you can choose, if you want, instead to do what seems hard, which actually, once you become disciplined to be able to do it, it's simple. Like, once you get the routine and you get the program, it's much simpler than people make it out to be. But in the beginning, it's hard. Like, you got to make a lot of changes. So you either do the hard things now so that you can live the easy life later, so that when we're 80 years old, we can live independently and we don't have to worry about being dependent on other people because we've taken care of ourselves. Or you can live that easy life now, and at 80 years old, you have to live in a nursing home and have people wipe your ass. So, like, it's totally up to you what you want to do, but the choice is there. And I don't think people see the choice. So it's just waking up. So,
I mean, realistically, man, a lot of these people will be lucky to make it to 80.
mm,
Period.
there's a lot of truth to that.
Period.
Mm,
80 is a stretch, man.
mm,
I mean, if you take a look around Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm,
mm,
any amusement park, the airport, certain grocery stores, take a look around. That's America, pal.
mm,
You know what I mean? And that's a fact. That is America when you look around. And it's a sad fact, but the more lives I feel that we can change, the better. Because once, like you said, you can choose the hard now or the hard later, right? And yeah, it's not as hard once you get in the groove, it becomes easier, right? And my grandfather, he told me this thing that stuck with me for a long time is that he wishes he got started earlier because he became really active at like I think 42. Like
mm,
I'm talking about biking, marathons, he's doing calisthenics, all this stuff. Great things for his body, eating good, you know, but it was 6 years too late, and he lived to 88, but if he, but he had a lot of arthritis type stuff
mm,
come up early, but he lived a long life, don't get me wrong, and it was probably because of that.
yeah.
But he had a lot of different problems leading
Mm,
up to that 88. And he said, I wish I would have got it started earlier. Because if he would have started like 6 years earlier, I bet you wouldn't have had, those the arthritis and the different elderly problems that they go through. And that always stuck to me, and I always thought about that. And I got started at 35. So I got started 7 years earlier than he did.
mm,
So I feel like I take pride in that. Like I listened, because that's a people don't listen nowadays.
mm,
And they hear one thing and it's like, oh, onto the TV, or it's onto the phone, or it's onto this, or it's onto that. And it's like, bro, you need to open up your ears. You need to listen. These people know what they're talking about. If you want to change everything about you, and this guy did, why wouldn't you tune into this guy? You know?
success leaves clues.
Yeah.
Um, P, I know you got to get to it. So let me ask you one more question before we sign off this bad boy. You have made some significant changes in your life, much different than most. So most people are trying to overcome eating too much food and sitting around and being lazy, which is tough to overcome. Don't get me wrong. but I feel like the changes that you've made in your life and the things that you've persevered through, I believe are much more challenging because you're talking about chemical addictions versus just wanting to sit around and be lazy and live an easy life. So, what are a couple of habits that you have built into your life that you feel like have made the biggest shift?
Man, I wanna say it's the getting up earlier, getting up early because I still struggle with it from
Mhm.
time to time, but that getting up earlier just sets the tone for the day, where you're going, because then you can really start to segment out. If you get up early, you can start segmenting it out, like, I gotta eat. Okay, cool. Already got these macros in. Okay, then I gotta get to the gym. Ooh, got these workouts in. And then once you set that tone of developing those wins, it just sets the tone for the whole day. So you're not, I live in Southern California, so traffic's crazy. And we have a lot of road rage out here. And some days I do better than others, but if my day is going right, I'm like, oh, that's all right. It's no effect on me. So, but it could easily twist and be like, you're
Lose
just
it.
going crazy. And so I think you just gotta set the tone. You gotta draw a line. You have to start learning to keep your word to yourself. Because if you can keep your word to yourself, you can keep your word with everybody else in your life. That's how it works. Once you start not keeping the word to yourself, then all these little things start falling off and all these little habits start creeping in. Not maybe not the major ones, but they could come along later on. So the little ones start creeping in and making cracks in your foundation. And that's you want to
That's
stay
so
away
good.
from that.
That's so good. Most definitely.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Appreciate you.
that's good stuff, P. I appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Ask P.Wilson. That's Ask P. Wilson on IG. Again, that's Ask P. Wilson on IG.
You got it, brother, and I'll
Yeah,
make sure to
man.
put that in the description as well. P,
Appreciate you.
thanks again, man. I appreciate your time and congratulations again on on overcoming, all the vices and everything. That's solid work, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, bro.
No,
Appreciate
d-
you. All
no
right,
doubt,
man.
brother.
Have a good
Take care.
day.